everybody, June here, and welcome to day 17 of Vlogmas. Yes, I did skip yesterday. I spent another full day at the library, and then I went out to happy hour with friends, and I didn't have anything filmed, and rather than try to come up with something at the very last minute, I just decided to not do it. And to be quite honest with you, it felt great once I made that decision, because I was all out of ideas. But today I have something special for you. It has been pretty cold here in the last couple of days, especially yesterday. It was miserable. And as you may have noticed, I have a bit of a coat obsession. No, I didn't buy another coat, but keeping in theme with coats and sewing, I thought that today I would share with you some of my favorite vintage coat patterns that I own. I'm only going to be talking about envelope patterns because I do have some vintage sewing magazines like Berta, but just gonna talk about the envelope ones. And I'm leaving this space here with all that mess there so that I can put in pictures of the patterns here as I talk. So let's get started. First is the Simplicity 7905 pattern from 1968, and it is the only one for which I know the date for sure because it is printed on the envelope. The other ones don't have the date printed. This is a very lovely fitted double-breasted coat with some military details, particularly in the button area, and it has weld pockets, and it is gorgeous. This pattern came in with a lot, so I bought it as part of a lot. And the moment that I saw it, I knew that I wanted to make it. At the time, I lived in Florida, so I had no need for a coat like this. And that was the time when the pattern fit me. It is a bust size 38. I've gotten a little larger since then. And so I've had it for quite some time. I think probably like 7 years or so. And I haven't made it, and I don't know if I ever will, but it is so lovely. I just love looking at it. I love everything about it, even on the envelope. I love the color of the coat. I don't know if I need another blue coat, but that's neither here nor there. But it is so nice. And the best part is that, yes, you can make the coat, but there's also an option for a dress coat. Coat dress? A dress that looks like a coat, so you can make it out of lighter fabric and just wear it for fall. I might do that if I fit in the pattern. And I know that you can grade, but grading vintage patterns is not something that I've ventured into yet, and I find it very intimidating. This year in particular, I've gone through a vintage coat craze, and I have bought a few patterns. So the next 3 patterns I'm going to show you now are ones that I bought this year. And let's start with this gorgeous 1940s coat. It is Vogue 8344, and like I said, although I don't know the day for sure, it is from the 1940s. And I was going through I want to make the Mrs. Maisel style coats, and I know that this is from the decade prior. But while I do love a fitted coat like the previous one, I am a big sucker for big, not necessarily oversized, but loose fitting coats for a variety of reasons. From a practical perspective, they're easier to wear because you can layer stuff underneath it, and also from a making them perspective, they're a lot easier to fit. And I like the aesthetics, and I was going through my most recent I Want to Dress Vintage phase, which obviously hasn't panned out, but I picked this pattern up. I love the longer coat version, but I think I like the collar for the shorter one. And although the size is a size 38 for the bust, I think the cut is roomy enough that if I was to make this, it would be very easy to fit, and I wouldn't have to do a whole lot of alterations. Maybe a little bit on the arms, but not too much. Next is this gorgeous Vogue couturier, and I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that. Number 321 is the pattern, and it is, I think, from the late 40s, maybe very early 50s. It is a double-breasted coat with large sleeves the center front panels of the coat are one piece, but then the back is cut in pieces. So there's a top and there's a skirt. There are pockets on the side, of course, but hidden in the darts, and it looks so amazing. And I know that a lot of times the stylized nature of these pattern illustrations don't necessarily translate to what the coat looks like on a real body, even with those measurements, but I think it is so pretty. And I also think that it would be easy to wear in the sense that you can put stuff under that. You can put things under those big sleeves and it just looks so classic. I think you can get away with this even if you're not dressing vintage. Even if you're dressing in your regular clothes, you can just put on this amazing double-breasted coat and just go and be warm and be fashionable. And I really think that a lot of what makes this coat so appealing, aside from the shape, is the details. Like, I love that detail of the pocket in the dart so that it's hidden. I love the details of the fur sleeve cuffs and the fur collar, although I would probably use faux fur. And it's just so pretty. Next, this is my Kohl 5357, I think also from the 40s. And it is a double-breasted coat. Do you see a pattern here? It's a double-breasted coat, but it has a slimmer silhouette. It's a straight up and down, and the sleeves are a bit narrower than the previous one. It has patch pockets, and the sleeves are two-piece, and I think when I look at the illustration and I look at the shape of this coat on this pattern, it just screams like film noir to me, which to me just screams like old school detective story. And maybe that's a function of the fedora hat she's wearing. But I absolutely love this coat. I like the thought of it in plaid as I have it here on the envelope. But I do not like matching stripes, let alone matching plaid. So I probably would just make it in a single color if I ever did make it. And I know that that's a lot of coats. But I do always buy... So I don't always buy patterns, especially vintage ones, with the idea that I'm going to absolutely make them. But coat patterns, especially these last few ones that I've shown you, I bought with the specific purpose to actually make them. And of course I haven't gotten around to doing that because I don't need that many coats. And I was going through a vintage phase, like I said, and vintage coat phase, and swing coats and box coats and swagger coats. And I bought all the coat patterns that I could find in my size from eBay. So yeah, so this is just a small selection of my vintage coat patterns, and definitely a very small selection of my vintage patterns. Envelopes alone I have about 200, and then I have like I said, vintage Berta, a few issues of vintage Berta magazines. So I have a lot, just like I have a lot of patterns. You can't really see it behind me, but like that is just full of patterns. But anyhow, I hope that was a fun little taster of vintage coat patterns. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed looking at them all over again, because I just love looking at them. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!